From New York University, I'm Jasmine Brown, and this is Her Uncovered. You can join me every Friday for all things related to prevalent social issues. Today, I hope to shed light on how women dominate the writing industry and learn ways we can guide future generations to think ahead and make a change. In this radio-geared program, we will be discussing women entering the field of professional writing, the struggles they had to endure, and how they overcame such obstacles throughout the process. Today, we talked to my advisor and storyteller, Kristine Rodriguez-Kerr, about the significant role of women in the professional writing sphere. I wanted to start off by asking you, how important is diversity and women's voices in the field of professional writing?
Jasmine, that is an amazing question. And I think to start, diversity in all senses of the word is important, really in all aspects of life. And so when we think about academic, professional, personal, diverse groups thrive. And we know in professional settings that diverse groups produce the best outcomes, right? Study after study shows that groups that are functional, that are diverse and inclusive, have the best outcomes.
Yeah.
When we think about writing, that's amplified because writing teams write in professional senses, right? In professional places across industries, diverse writers are writing for diverse groups of target audiences. And so representation on a team matters. It's tremendous. So having a diverse writing team is really important in order to have a greater impact on your target audiences. When we narrow to gender, so when we think about women and writers specifically, we have historically, women have been silenced and their voices, they weren't allowed to publish. They weren't allowed to write in a public way. And so they found workarounds. You had women publishing with hidden identities. You had women giving their stories to men to publish under their identities. Often we have men taking women's stories, and we're seeing that come out in terms of intellectual property. And it was a woman's idea, but a man published it and he got famous with that work. In the modern working world, it's interesting because writing and communications fields at the entry level are often dominated by women. And so this is a trend that happens in undergraduate degrees, communication, marketing, writing. Those are fields where you have a lot of women entering, like teaching and like nursing. And just like those industries within writing, you have a glass ceiling. So you have a lot of women coming in with lots of talent and lots of ambition, and you don't have a lot of leadership who are women. And that's a problem. And that's not a problem with women. That's an institutional problem, right? There's a disconnect where women either aren't being supported or they're still not being seen as leaders in the industry. And that's where I think we have a lot of space for growth.
Yes, it's interesting when you mentioned, like, back in the day, women weren't allowed to publish under their names. And I found that in research. And I was wondering, how do you think early feminist movements contributed to women utilizing their voices in the field of publishing?
I think a tremendous amount. And I think that we are able to write, we're able to have this conversation because of the women that came before us and the feminists came before us and did the hard work of making public and support and shining a light on the inequity that was happening in the field. And so the feminist movement is huge in terms of where we are now. And when I think about where we are now, it's like a 2-step forward, 1-step back scenario. Like, this is absolutely the best time in America to be a woman. And still, it's also a really dangerous time in America to be a woman. And that translates to the industries that we work in, too. There's opportunity, but there's opportunity to a point, and then you still have to be very vocal and an advocate, and you have to do the work of pulling yourself up and reaching back to help folks come along with you. And that's where it's a great time, and it's also still a time where there's a lot of improvement and a lot of work. And that's, I think that is carrying the torch for the feminist movement.
Yes. So now that the landscape has changed in terms of women being on the forefront, how can we better support women writers and their voices?
This is a good question. I think, I'm thinking about this in two ways. So there is a lot of goodwill right now for women writers, right?
Yes.
So there is a lot of, again, that entry-level opportunity, and there are folks that have the door open. And so I think what's important is continuing to open those doors for writers. And that to me returns to this question of leadership. And so I am in a leadership role now, and I'm in a unique place where I also get to mentor young talent in the professional writing world. And I am often amazed at how many talented female writers limit themselves because they don't know what they're capable of, and I don't want to say they lack confidence, because the confidence is there.
Yes.
But they don't know how good they are. And
it's like a hesitancy.
It's a hesitancy, yeah. And it's like they put themselves in the place of dismissing all of the talent and all of the good work when they know it's the right thing. They know that their edit is the right edit, but they frame it as a question instead of a statement. And so I think what we can do to support women is to help them build that confidence or remove that hesitancy and see that as still being humble. And so I think there's a difference between critical humility, and which is important for anybody to have, writers and leaders, and being dismissive of your own talent. And that's the line that I try to push when I'm mentoring. The other answer to that question is to really uplift women leading in a way that feels natural. So as I move farther into leadership roles, I feel like a lot of people will want me to take on a traditionally masculine way of leading. And I think that we have a responsibility to reject that. I am a soft-spoken woman. I am an effective leader. And I believe that leading and mentoring others should have empathy and care embedded in it. And those are elements that women have historically been very natural as empathetic leaders, as caring leaders. And I think that contributes to that glass ceiling. But when you are above that glass ceiling, you can really do a lot to foster caring spaces. And that's so important for writers, because writing is a vulnerable act. And so having leadership or editors or people who you trust reading your work that can do that with empathy is hugely important.
Yes, it takes a village.
It takes a village, absolutely.
And I know your mentorship, it helped me a lot, because I've had that same hesitancy in terms of writing, because growing up, you're told, oh, it's not a traditional career, it's not this, it's not that. But I would say having a supportive network, it really has helped me be more confident, put out my writing, and doing assignments and working with peers and stuff like that. So it's very important having a support system, and I believe it helped me utilize my voice more, because I always was timid in a sense where, I was scared to put out writing. I was just nervous, but I've definitely came out my shell, and I've been able to produce more content. This is my first podcast, and I'm really enjoying getting out there and sharing important stories and messages. So it's been really good.
Oh, Jasmine, you make me cry on your podcast, your first podcast, and you're gonna make your interviewee cry. I think that is lovely to hear, and you're absolutely in that category of extremely talented, and it's need support to push your voice out there. And I think that is a very writerly thing, right? To be worried about sharing your writing, and you have to find your people. So I'm happy to be part of your village.
What would you recommend? What workshops or programs would you recommend to somebody who's eager for a new career change or eager to start professional writing?
Well, I have two recommendations. One is certainly the MS in Professional Writing program. If you have your undergraduate degree, if you feel like you want to cultivate your voice. I had a really amazing mentor who helped me understand that everyone has a voice, and it's whether they feel confident sharing it. I really think the MSPW, we're not giving anyone a voice. We're giving them the space for their voice to be heard. So finding a writing program that raises you up and that does the work of balancing what are the genre expectations for what you're going to write, because you need to be able to fit within the genre, and then balances that with where are the spaces for you to have your authentic voice, because your authentic voice matters. And that's that diversity piece, whether it's gender or race or neurodiversity or socioeconomic or health status. We need to have those diverse voices, and we need writing to be authentic. And I think with AI, that capturing ways of infusing that authentic voice are going to be more and more important. And you need a human to do that, and you need humans with these intersectional experiences.
Yes.
So the MSPW is where I think really good writing instruction and networking and online community is happening. And you are an example of that, which is terrific. When I think about empowering women and leadership, I did some consulting work during the early months of the pandemic for the Women's Leadership Center out of the Omega Institute. And I helped them turn their intensive week-long on-site course into a 6-week or 8-week intensive online course. And they really, doing that work in the way that the Women's Leadership Center frames embracing a feminist way of leadership is lovely. And that's where I got empowered to claim that I'm a soft-spoken woman and that I'm also an effective leader, and really think about not trying to hide what makes me an effective woman leader, but instead, and not try to fit into someone else's idea of masculine leadership. So I don't have to be type A. I don't have to crush the people that work underneath me. I don't have to be the loudest voice in the room. I can lead in ways that feel and are traditionally associated with the feminine, and I can still be effective, and I can create space where the women who are incredibly talented that I'm able to mentor in this role can see that's effective leadership and continue that tradition in whatever industry they move into. So I think that's a really great course and center for empowering women in really meaningful ways, and that they work with leaders across industries, and it's really delightful.
Yeah.
My recommendation.
Yes. My personal recommendation too, because you know what I think is special about NYU SPS is it lets you tailor your writing in a way that's unique to you. I didn't feel like throughout my course, I never felt like I had to change anything specific about me. It's even helped better my writing skills. And like you said, like you're soft-spoken stuff, and I'm the same way. And it allowed me to come out my shell and really have people that are like me. So it's just very fun sharing our voices and then just relating to each other.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Yeah, soft-spoken doesn't mean you don't have a lot to say, right? The spoken is what's important. And it's making sure that there's space for everyone to speak. And this is a graduate program in writing. And so we have talented writers come in, and it really is, it's about helping them cultivate their voice and network. And it's so wonderful to see that happening. This could be a marketing soundbite for the program. Once again. Wait, we're going to do this again.
Yeah. I'll wait. I just already took in so much from this conversation because it's just an important topic, and I want to encourage like future generations, young girls, to utilize their voices and tell stories that are special to them. So it is I learned so much.
God. And so what are some assignments that you've done that you've really enjoyed doing?
So I've recently done an email. It's an internal email, I believe. And it was just unique because from my professor, she allowed me to basically use my own voice, like not a particular professional voice or anything, but it was just unique doing that because I've never created like an internal email before. So that was fun. And another assignment that was really unique to me was we had to create like a movie. It was like a 2-minute movie, and it was a contemplation of like different videos, and we could add our own unique twist and stuff to it. So that was fun because I took in filmmaking when I was in high school, but I put it down for a while. So it was fun to incorporate both writing and filmmaking. So that was fun. And it's just so many assignments. In discussions like geared towards writing and important issues like gender inequality and systematic inequality and stuff like that. So it was very fun just writing about topics I'm interested in and ways that we can make a change in those areas. So it has really been amazing, this program so far.
This is so wonderful to hear. And it's great that you raise up the kind of multimodal, because there's so many important storytelling aspects when you create a short video that they mirror the writing process, and it mirrors, and when it's a topic you care about, where do you spend a lot of time in the editing process? Which is, I think, unique to this program, is where we really look for ways that students can make the assignments their own, because eventually this can be your portfolio piece. Maybe not this podcast, but maybe this podcast. Maybe not this bit of the podcast, but it's still going to be something that we want you to take and showcase when you graduate. So it should be work that the topic is something you care about, the voice feels authentic, and it includes all the best practices of what makes these different documents effective, persuasive, and impactful. These writers still have a lot of impact, and that's huge.
Yep. But I want to end this by saying I enjoyed talking to you today, and I hope we could get together another time when you're available so we could talk about more issues or topics related to writing and advancing the field. Because I do want to start, I don't know if it's an initiative, but I want to start more writing programs in my area for young, nonprofit program. Because I live in Columbus, Georgia. It's outside of Atlanta. And I want to start more an initiative that allows young children of color to utilize their voices. So
that should be your next podcast. I got a lot to say about that. That is how I got started in writing education, is working with underserved youth in New York City in a writing program. So happy to have another conversation about that. And I don't know if you've taken the grant writing course, but that's a good course to figure out how to submit a funding proposal, and then something outlining a project or outlining a curriculum that does that good work that you just described could be a really good thesis project. So again, we're delving off of your podcast, but there's so much to say, and I look forward to more conversations as you move through the coursework in the program.
Yes.
And thank you for including me in this podcast. It's
I'm very
an important topic, and it's wonderful to be a part of that.
Yes.
Your first podcast.